Hey everybody, and welcome back to the board meeting. Today we're just going to be reviewing the newest set that has been released for the Unmatched series of games. Now this is going to be Unmatched Dr. Sattler versus T-Rex. This is a Jurassic Park themed game. This is the second set that has been released with the Jurassic Park theme on it. First it was InGen versus Raptors. Now we got Sattler versus T-Rex. So you got two sets of dinosaurs and two people to fight them with. Now this is just a 2-character set, and so let's go down to the table and I'll show you how each of these characters plays. This isn't going to be a how to play Unmatched, but I'll show you what each of these characters plays like, some of their cards. Then we'll come back up here and I'll give my final thoughts on this particular set. So here we have what the game would look like set up. You have Ellie Sattler over here with her ally Dr. Ian Malcolm, and then you have T-Rex over here, which you see is just a giant, large miniature. So let's start with the board. Actually, this is the T-Rex paddock. There's nothing special really about this board. It's very basic, very standard. There's no special rules for this. So what you see here is what you're going to be getting with that. If you know how to play Unmatched, there's no special rules for this. Now let's start with Dr. Ellie Sattler. Now she's got her sidekick, Dr. Ian Malcolm. They are both melee fighters. Dr. Sattler will start with 13 health. Dr. Malcolm has 7 health, and they are both moving 2 spaces whenever they maneuver. The special ability of Dr. Sattler is whenever she moves or Malcolm moves, you're going to put out these insight tokens each time either of them move, and wherever they land, that's where you put the insight tokens. These insight tokens are going to be her bread and butter of this deck. This is what she's going to interact with, the things that she's going to need to become powerful, to do what she wants to do. And that is basically her special abilities, just putting out these insight tokens. Let's go through a couple of her cards that I think are the most interesting in her deck, or the ones that are, more powerful. First we have Woman Inherits the Earth. Immediately draw 1 card. Dr. Sattler recovers health equal to the number of insight tokens on the board. Remove all the insight tokens from the board. And this is a versatile card, so it's attack or defense. So you use this card, you heal up, and you remove all of the insight tokens. So you want to put up all of these insight tokens, and you could heal up to 7 if you have all 5 of your insight tokens on the board. So that is huge. I think she is one of the characters that heals the most in this game. Let's go to the next card. You never had control. That's the illusion. And then this is just an attack for Dr. Sattler. And this basically does the same thing as the other card, but this is just for attacking. You're going to increase the attack by the number of insight tokens, then remove those tokens. So you could have an attack of 7 right there. Just a huge attack. And here's one of the cards that I think is really interesting in her deck. Is I think we're back in business. During combat, the value of this card E is equal to the number of cards in your hand. It's a 0, so it could be up to, if you have 6 cards in your hand, it could be a 6. So it's another big card. It could be defense or attack for her. Here's the next one. Violently if necessary. And it's attack. It's a versatile card of 3. After combat, deal 2 damage to each opposing fighter on or adjacent to a space with an insight token. So she's not just going to use the insight tokens just to use up, but mostly she's just going to use them up for those big attacks and big heals. But some other cards will deal with those insight tokens as well. Here's a Dr. Malcolm card, versatile 2. Life finds a way, and after combat, your opponent discards the top card of their deck. Dr. Malcolm and Dr. Sattler recover health equal to that card's boost value. So again, they're going to be healing up again. And here is a scheme card for Dr. Malcolm, the future X Mrs. Malcolm. You draw 2 cards, place an insight token in Dr. Malcolm's space, and then you gain 1 action. And that's her cards that I think are the most interesting in her deck, or the most powerful, the most useful. So let's go right up to the T-Rex. This is the big attraction of this set, obviously, being this giant miniature. And for the giant miniature, the T-Rex is actually only moving one spot every turn. So you're going to have to boost the T-Rex. And when you move, it moves 1 spot. And most of the time, the T-Rex is actually going to be considered to be in 2 different spots. So that's kind of an interesting thing. And the T-Rex's special ability is she is considered a large fighter, and she can attack from up to 2 spaces away. So I could attack Dr. Malcolm here from 2 spaces, but Dr. Malcolm would have to be next to me to attack. So it's almost like a somewhat ranged fighter. And then at the end of the T-Rex's turn, you draw a card. There's going to be a lot of cards, drawing cards for the T-Rex, which is useful because you're going to have to boost your movement in order to catch the people. So you're going to be going through your deck. The T-Rex starts with a massive amount of health, 27. You get this huge, giant health dial with her, I should say. And here's some of the cards that I think are the most useful for the T-Rex. Here's an attack of 3, and after combat, deal 3 damage to the opposing fighter, and then take 3 damage. And the T-Rex is going to do a lot of damage to herself. And I mean, that's the only kind of way, because she's got so much health that she's going to be constantly injuring herself as well. Here's the next card. It's an attack of 3, 15,000 pounds of muscle. During combat, ignore the value of your opponent's card, and then take 2 damage. So again, the T-Rex is hurting himself, but hopefully hurting the opponent more every turn. Here's a versatile card of 3, terrifying roar. Immediately, fighters cannot leave their space for the rest of the turn. So you're going to trap your opponent there. You're probably going to play this on defense so that the opposing fighter can't leave, and then on your turn, just unload 2 massive attacks on that fighter, hopefully. And here is just a very basic card, an attack of 5. After combat, you draw 1 card. Again, you're going to be drawing lots of cards and gaining actions with this particular fighter. Here's an attack of 2. When dinosaurs ruled the earth, during combat, you may boost this card. After combat, if you have won the combat, draw 1 card, gain 1 action, and take 2 damage. So again, you are going to be drawing cards. You're gaining actions, and you're hurting yourself. And this is a very defining card for the T-Rex. Here's a scheme card for the T-Rex. Move T-Rex up to 1 space, draw 1 card, gain 1 action. So this card kind of helps you move around the board. For the T-Rex, that's it's kind of hard to move. You're going to have to boost that T-Rex a lot in order to catch your opponents. And those are those cards. As far as the quality of these, the minis are fantastic, just like usual. I was kind of worried because this is such a big mini, but the details are great. It didn't lose any of the quality for how big this is. Dr. Sattler is pretty good as well. It's kind of a boring mini, but it's pretty straightforward, but very well done. Dr. Malcolm, the sidekick, is fine, but I actually have the promo ally where I get a miniature for him. So that's kind of neat. But let's go back up to the top, and I'll talk about how I feel about this set. So let's just talk about these 2 fighters now. Let's start with Ellie Sattler. Ellie Sattler is going to be a pretty powerful character, in my opinion. She's going to be one of the big fighters in Unmatched. I mean, a top tier fighter, one of them. I'm not saying she's the most powerful character, but she is going to be a powerful character, in my opinion. Her moving around the board, putting these insight tokens down, then using them to do just a massive move, a big attack, or healing herself. Healing yourself 7 is a huge thing, and you can do that a couple times in this game. And you can also get several big, giant attacks down. My problem with Dr. Sattler is she is so straightforward. You are just going to be maneuvering. Her strategy is pretty straightforward, in my opinion. It's not very interesting. You want to move a bunch, get those insight tokens down onto the board, and then go up to that fighter and attack them. Or else you want to put those insight tokens down and do a massive heal. That's my problem with Ellie Sattler, is that she's kind of boring to play as and play against. You know exactly, if you're playing against her, you know she wants to move and get up those insight tokens, then she's going to come up and do a big attack on you. You know that's what's probably going to be happening. It's very straightforward. You don't have a lot of decision space, in my opinion, for an Unmatched game. And so that's why I kind of don't really like her. I think she's going to be powerful, but it's not going to be a fun character for me to play as comparatively to other fighters in Unmatched. So yeah, it's just Ellie Sattler, powerful, but not very fun for me. Now let's go to the T-Rex. The T-Rex was the big draw for this, being a giant giant miniature. And one thing I didn't talk about when I was showing off the game was that this base is not the greatest, actually. The T-Rex ends up falling down a few times. It's not very stable. It should have had like a wider base for this. So I think I'm going to try and find something that I can place the T-Rex on to make sure that it doesn't have to fall down all the time. As far as playing the T-Rex, like Dr. Sattler, is pretty straightforward. The T-Rex is a giant fighter. You're just going to be constantly pushing forward, trying to attack the opponent, take them out. And so you don't have like this huge decision space, in my opinion, for the T-Rex. You want to go in, attack, kill them as fast as you can, because you are going to be going through your deck very quickly with the T-Rex. You're constantly drawing cards. You have cards that get you other cards. And at the end of your turn, you always draw cards too. And you're gaining action, so you're using your cards up fast. So yeah, you're using up your cards rather quickly, and you're constantly doing damage to yourself. 27 health is a lot, but when you're constantly doing 2 damage to yourself every single turn, 2-3 damage, and you're also getting attacked when it's not your turn, it's not as big of a thing as I think a lot of people are saying. Some people are saying that it's not, the T-Rex is overpowered. I don't feel that way. All the games have been close when I'm playing the T-Rex because he's constantly doing damage to himself, and it's not things that you can avoid doing. You are constantly, if you're attacking, say you're doing an attack of 3, and maybe one of those gets through. Some of those cards are going to do 2 damage to you, so you're doing more damage to yourself a lot of times when you're attacking. So that has balanced it out. I don't think the T-Rex is overpowered. I think he's going to be a good character, a powerful character, but it's not going to be this crazy overpowerful character like some people have been saying, or whatever. And thematically, the T-Rex doesn't feel like it makes much sense to me because it doesn't have huge attacks. I mean, it has some big attacks, but there's no like Medusa card where you're going to do like 9 damage to anyone. You are going to have little chip shots of 3, 4, 5 damage, or I mean not damage, but attacks each turn. So they're big attacks, but there's no huge attacks like you would kind of expect from a giant fighter to be. So like there's a little bit of a thematic disconnect there for myself. And so to me, the T-Rex is all right. The coolest part of the T-Rex is the T-Rex. The deck it's fine. It's very straightforward. You want to go through, punch through, and attack and just get into like this slap fest with the opposing fighter. But yeah, the coolest thing of this set is the cool factor, the toy factor of the T-Rex itself. And the board is one of the most boring boards in my opinion. And I know this kind of sounds like I'm ragging on this set, and it's because I hold Unmatched in such a high esteem for myself. It is one of my favorite games. I have every set for Unmatched. Unmatched is the game that I play probably the most out of any of my games. I love breaking out Unmatched, putting fighters against each other. But this set is my least favorite set that has come out to date. Neither of these fighters are ones that I think are particularly interesting. I think the game is fun still. But when I'm rating it against other sets that have come out, this is down there with one of my least favorite sets, along with the Buffy set that has come out. So it's not the greatest. I think the board's boring. I think the characters aren't that interesting. So, I mean, I'm still giving it a 7 rating. I mean, that's a good rating. But compared to other Unmatched sets that I usually give like a 9 or even a 10 on my favorite ones, this is a drop off. It's a cool set still. It's one that I'm happy I own, but it's not one that I would recommend people get as their first set. Because if you get this set as your first set, you think this is what Unmatched is like. Unmatched is different than what this game offers. There's other characters that are more interesting, that are funner, that have a bigger decision space when you're playing them, more variability of what you can do with those characters. So yeah, it's getting a 7, so a solid rating, but it's a step back for me for Unmatched. But that'll be this entire review. So if you did enjoy this review, make sure to like and subscribe to see more weekly content from me, Shane, at the board meeting in the future. I hope you all have an amazing day. Take care, everyone.